Low Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for another Orc Mode workout. Today was max effort upper day, but a quick reminder, we've got a lot to cover. Please click like down below, it would be greatly appreciated. Reach down there and do it. Thank you so much. Floor press, we added 5 pounds over the last workout with the chains, so I did 300 plus the 28 chains. Keeping in mind, obviously, some of the chain is still at the bottom, right? And just the rigging up top is 4 pounds. So my 28 pounds of chains is actually 24 pounds of chains and 4 pounds of rigging up on the bar. So if the chains were unhooked, that rigging would still be adding 4 pounds of plates. So there's a little more than 300 at the bottom. And we've got whatever our 328 lockout. And remember, for me, I'm weak at lockouts on all my pressing. So for me, I'm not one of those guys who, when I add a bunch of chain, I can do a lot more lockout weight. I'm not one of those guys. So it tends to be pretty close to my max, the lockout weight tends to be. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build all this up, work on driving, exploding through, recruiting my chest, building my pecs up, get really, really good at powering through there. And I need to build the chest. And as I do that, it will give me more power to get through my weak points when I can re-engage my lats and use leg drive. Because if my chest can let me explode even harder, and I go back and add the lats and the leg drive back in, bench will go up. So we're just going to micro load it from here. Same thing, I'm going to start rotating a seated press with the incline every other workout for the max, because I'm going to run out of linear real quick, and now I'm going to micro load the incline. So Dave was a decent PR. We ended up getting it. It looked better than the 245 last time, I think. It was a smoother transition through the sticking point and the lockout. Nice pause and everything when I got to it, but 247 and a half. So we'll get the 250 next week. Should be there pretty easy based upon how this went. And I'm happy with it. So next workout we're going to do a seated press, and I'll get into some of that as we get a little further into it. But let's talk about what all we're doing here. So floor press, incline, overhead work, tons of upper back lats, triceps. So for me, it's going to be really a lot of upper chest and tricep supplemental work. We're going to keep hammering the J on presses. I've revised my form. I need a lot more upper chest. I need a lot more upper chest for my pressing strength. I mean, the disparity in my incline tells us everything we need to know. You guys have seen me close grip 352 with a buffalo bar and 345 with a straight bar. My incline is literally 100 pounds less than my close grip bench. Okay, that upper chest has to come up, and I can feel the weak link in it in my benching. So if my upper chest comes up and my triceps come up, that's what we have to do to get that bench to the next level, because I stalled. I rebuilt after my shoulder injury, and we got back to where just barely the PRs that I had hit before, and then I've stalled. Now we've got to come through and build it all with the other stuff. I know where my weak links are, and I have to do this hard stuff. I've got to do stuff like the floor press. And for someone like me who struggles with lockouts and needs more chest, who has big lats, the floor press with chains is a tremendous builder. This first set, because what I'm doing now, I do 80% of the bar weight plus keeping the chains the same. So technically, these should be really, really hard for fives. Borderline undoable because I'm not reducing the chain, the amount to work with it. I'm using a light enough chain that it's not going to be that big of a deal. Like, I don't need to take 20% of the chain weight off. But these are tough. In this first set, I actually felt the lateral head of my tricep, because on the max, well, the training max, I felt all chest and a little bit of shoulder. On these, I felt all of it. I felt that head of my tricep and the medial head too, but the lateral head was really pronounced on the first one. I felt tremendous amount of chest, and I felt my shoulders. These were just flat hard. I mean, they got them, and none of them are really grindy. They look good, but man, they felt heavy. They felt heavy, and it was interesting for me to note that the first 2 sets I was able to lock in a way that suggested my tricep strength is on point. And by the third set, and you guys can't see it, but I can feel the way my bar drifts. On the third set, I could tell that my triceps were getting fatigued and the bar was drifting closer to my face instead of locking out directly over my lower chest still. So again, a little bit of tricep work capacity giving out there, which tells me again my triceps are actually getting worked decently on these. I don't always feel them, but they're being worked decently to the point to where there's a work capacity issue there, and we'll fix that. Because if we can get to where with our supplemental, our rep work for our lifts like this, if we can get that to where the triceps can keep up pace there, they'll really grow a lot more. They'll get stronger. They'll get bigger. So definitely feeling that a little bit of tricep weakness here, but my chest got pretty well crushed. And what I did for the next two supplemental lifts, I was going to try to do 3 sets of the overhead and only 2 of the incline. These 3 sets went good, but when I went to the overhead, I stopped at 2 because I realized how much activation I'm getting on this, and I don't want to get a lot of DOMs tomorrow. I'm going to ease into some of these newer lifts, but the incline went good. I was real happy with the work sets. So the same thing, we did 80% of what I just maxed on for 2 sets of 5. And keeping in mind, this is second supplemental lift of the day, so I'm not coming in fresh doing this. So again, happy with these. They went good. Decent pauses, most of it. The first rep is usually a little weird, especially on the first set. And you notice that transition when I lock out. It's still a matter of finding my bar path. So I tend to be really powerful out of the bottom. You know, it's the same thing though. People are like, well, if your upper chest is a weak link, why do you explode off the chest so well? My lats are getting compressed. I can use my lats on this, but it does put that deep stretch on my chest. And a lot of it, when I get to that lockout point up top, I feel my chest there. So it's not really entirely a tricep weakness. And I'm not saying my triceps don't need a lot of work. I mean, let's be honest, I need to put at least another inch of meat on my triceps. Okay? That needs to happen. But I definitely feel on this now that my shoulder is feeling really good. Again, just taking out some of those other lifts that were still maintaining that inflammation from the injury. It's made all the difference this week. Big difference. So again, and my exercise selection today reflects that to some extent. Saying, okay, well, I need to make sure that those rear delts and infraspinatus and everything get worked. Then we did the seated press, and you guys remember me doing these just a little while back, doing them from a dead stop on the 18 pin. The first rep each time was hard, then they got easy. I felt so much side delt and upper chest doing these that I realized if I tried to do a third hard set today, I'm going to get DOMs. Let me just get my 2 good sets in, get the movement pattern down, and next upper day we'll max on this. Okay, we'll max on it, and then we will have data to work from. So these were just some nice challenging sets, probably lighter than I would be able to do if I had the movement pattern down, but one workout's what it takes. So what we'll come and do now that I've got the movement a little bit in, got it ingrained, and I stopped at 2 so that I don't get too sore, because I already have a feeling my upper back's going to be sore. So I stopped it at 2 sets, and it's just 135, but off those dead pins it's hard. So we'll come in and we'll max on it, and we'll see if we can get a good max, and then we'll program off those maxes, and I'll probably try to start taking these out to 3 sets. So again, I'm doing a little more volume on the floor press and the overhead than the incline. The incline, I feel like with the maxing I'm doing, 2 good sets because it will feed both directions. And the floor press will feed it to some extent, and these seated presses will feed my incline tremendously well. So, but I need the extra shoulder development. I need a real shoulder exercise in here. This is going to be really the only one I have. I mean, again, all the rowing will help a lot with shoulders. It'll have some carryover to the side delt, and that's what I'm going to rely on with these. So these need if I'm going to do an extra set of one of them, it needs to be this one. But realistically, again, that still gives me 5 total sets for chest, not counting the maxes. 5 really hard, challenging sets. Those are limit sets with, heavy weight. So that's more than enough. And when you start talking about doing it twice a week, and keeping in mind the maxes have a training response. Do not let anyone tell you that your maxes do not contribute to your volume for hypertrophy. They do, they're just not enough by themselves to get good hypertrophy. Usually, hopefully, people grasp that. But using that same logic, you wouldn't say, well, just doing 1 set to failure is enough to maximize hypertrophy. No, it'll give you some hypertrophy. It's like a 1 rep max will give you hypertrophy. We've got to have more going on. JM presses went up 5 pounds. Decided to just do them on the bench again. It was easy for me to set up. First set took me just a bit to get into the groove, and the second and third set a lot better. Sorry about the angles, guys. I'm doing what I can with the angles. I'd rather do this stuff where I can use safeties than get the most beautiful camera angles. And as you guys can see, I'm right there on the side of my plate rack, which tells you that this camera is pretty well against the wall. This is the best I can get for an angle. So, did 100 pounds with this new form, because you guys have seen me using the wrong form, rep out a lot heavier weight. I'm going to build up using this form to where I try to keep the elbows tucked. And as I've said before, I'm trying to imitate doing almost a skull crusher, but with the straight bars starting up at a position where I tuck the elbows. In order to get the correct JM press, I'm actually trying to keep my elbows up and not let them come down at all. And it's fascinating how that works when we're using a heavy weight. So it ends up looking like a correct JM press. If I actually try to tuck the elbows and keep them up, and then stop where the bicep touches the forearm, it looks like a correct JM press. If I try to do what feels like a correct JM press, it just looks like a closed grip bench to my neck. Right? So, and I kind of explained that last time. So, they lit my triceps up though. And I noticed I had a little bit of almost elbow twinge last time. I don't feel it today. But I'll probably, just to be safe, I may do just a little bit of band press downs today. Just to make sure everything's good. And again, good finisher for the triceps. And we know the JM press builds triceps in a way that increases the bench. A lot of very serious powerlifters love this as a primary tricep movement, really. But I think this kind of is what I need, is that icing on the cake, because I'm hitting 3 different pressing angles. So we know we're getting some variation in the heads worked. The chain floor presses definitely help with the triceps, but this is to go in and make sure those triceps come up, because I need bigger arms across the board. I've got to do some direct arm work, and this is a direct arm work that's going to increase my bench. So we want to make it all count, because I'm not doing a whole lot of different exercises. So the ones that I'm doing, I need them to be hard, I need them to be effective, and I need them to count. Then, look at that. You guys see what I did? I took that McDonald bar, and people have said, hey, have you tried that? I'm like, no, I tried the Buffalo bar for these, and it doesn't work. It flips. Took me a bit to kind of get it in a position, and there's going to need to be some fine-tuning. But these were pretty hard. Now, the argument could be made because of the way I'm having to set it up. My other option is to set the incline a hair higher and then set some pads, because when I go up the next position on the incline, it's too low. And then I've got to slide further down the bench, and that camber that comes down hits the rack. So by me having it to where my face is off the top, on this position, I can miss hitting that upright at the bottom with it down. But this lets me get a good range of motion for the contraction. Like, it gets me to the full range of motion where my scapula pinch. Now, it doesn't matter that camber isn't hitting the bench. My shoulder blades won't go that far. So I'm getting full scapular retraction, and that's what I want. Now, I'm not quite getting the lat stretch that I would like in a perfectly tuned setup, but that's okay. I'm doing inverted rows after, and I do get that lat stretch on those. So this is letting me, again, take my back out. People are going to say, all this stuff, you're not doing anything that's loading your back. That's correct. Why? I'm going to bring my deadlift up now. And I feel like because I do so much back work on the lower days, I do squats, deadlifts, good mornings. All 3 of those movements twice a week. And I do all those heavy reverse hypers. My lower back is at its maximum volume, and if I wonder if, even though the rows really do a lot for my upper and middle back, I do wonder if the fatigue from those is affecting my pulls. But we need to continue to build the back, and I need to get more and more back development. I need my rear delts, my lats, all my traps, all those things. I need those things to continue to come up. I need to get them stronger. But we can do so. I have enough equipment that I can set up all sorts of crazy stuff. I can make this work. Now, these I just did 3x10, and these were hard. Doesn't matter that they may not have been full to failure, because I'm going to ramp up pretty quick, because I've never done these before. It felt awkward. My back was cramping a little bit. My lats were cramping. So then I went ahead and I just did inverted rows. hit a slightly different angle, and I went with a wider grip, so I'm pinkies on the rings. Make sure I get a little more upper back rear delt. I really feel when I do a wide grip on these, my infraspinatus, which again may be helpful for avoiding that shoulder injury again in the future. But these, notice I can get that lat stretch at the bottom. I get my shoulder blades come apart at the bottom. Now, people will say again with the top you're not touching. I can't. That is my range of motion. Again, let's come back over to the point of why do I explode out of the bench so well out of the bottom. My back. Okay, that is my contraction. When my scapula pinch together at that point where the bar is. Okay, pulling it to my lower chest. That is my range of motion. So think about what happens with my big lats when they get squeezed down when a weight compresses them down. Do you guys understand now why big lats help the bench press? I'm curious if people are getting it at this point. Stop. A light bulb should be coming on. When I touch towards my lower chest with the bar, that's as far as I can pull myself up. And it's not because I'm weak, because I can do a bunch of reps. I can't even touch for one. I have to have a weight compress to do that. So if my back is in that thick to where my scapular are touching, and then I can't go further up, that means that all of that gets compressed under load when I bench. What does that mean? It means my lats explode me out of the bottom of the bench. Which is one reason my chest needs its own separate work. One reason we're going to work the floor press. And we're going to keep getting those lats bigger. All this stuff will make my lats and stuff grow. I mean, if it's doing that now, what happens if we add more meat to it? How much more pop does it give me? What happens when my chest is stronger coming out of the bottom? What happens if my triceps are stronger on the lockout? Good. Same thing, I went ahead and went back to my strict curls today. I haven't done these, so I probably started a hair too heavy. It was really hard. It was really hard. These were basically 5 rep maxes for me. So I stopped at 2 because my biceps were lit. All that higher rep pulling, because I did those 3 incline rows to failure. These were tough, so I stopped again. Like, let me not over fatigue my biceps to the point where my tendons hurt, because I've got a deadlift tomorrow. I'm probably going to max on a deficit deadlift. So again, had to limit it, and I'll eventually build these up to 3, just like the seated press. But I'm going to build all these things up, keep building everything, pay attention to my shoulder health, and I'm finding the things that are really allowing me to have no inflammation, get stronger, and make sure let my lower back rest on my upper days so that I can pull heavy twice a week. All right, guys, but I'm really happy with today's workout, happy with the way everything went. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.